Yes, I'm looking to climb Mount Everest for in the aid of Pilgrim's Hospice to raise quite a large amount of up to £250,000.
That sounds like $250,000 to me.
Yes, it does. So basically, I lost my mother, Heather, to a brain tumour a couple of years ago. And I'm looking to sort of pay back the support that the Pilgrim's Hospice gave our family at the time. And the only way I know to do that is to do something which is pretty difficult and challenging, which in turn will hopefully bring the community together, and we can raise this huge amount.
Well, I do appreciate that, because many, many years ago, back in the dark ages, when I think St Christopher's Hospice in Sydenham was the first hospice in the country, my father was in there, and if pilgrims are anything like as caring as my hospice was, they really do work very hard.
And that's what I found, Clive, is that it does affect a lot of people, and when you go through something like that and you watch somebody slowly deteriorate and you're with them when they pass away, for them to do that on a daily basis, my hat goes off to them, because it really took its toll on my family, and it still does to this day. And they do that every single day, and that's part of their job. So they have to raise over £10 million a year to keep this service going. It's a self-funded charity.
Well, I know. Sorry, I was going to say, I had them on. I think it Michael Donkin a couple of weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, from the hospice, and I know they work really hard and have an awful lot of money, as you say, an awful lot of money to raise. Now, apart from anything else, I believe you need to raise a few bob to get started.
Yes, that's right. I mean, there's 3 challenges that lie ahead for me. The first one is I've got to raise the funding for the expedition itself, which is quite a huge amount of £40,000. I'm going to try and raise that money by company sponsorship and also events throughout the course of this year.
I hope the companies are listening to this, to interrupt you for a second. Companies, are you listening to this? Carry on.
Exactly. And the second one is obviously going to be climbing Everest itself, and training and everything that goes into that, which I'm sure is going to be a huge feat in itself. And the main reason and the whole point of doing this, not just to raise awareness for the Pilgrim's Hospice, but also to raise the money, which they will go to obviously a great cause. And I mean, I always find that with charities, it's not something that you tend to see yourself on the results, but with the Pilgrim's Hospice, you can actually see it for yourself, and it really does affect our local community. So it's something that I really would like to get as many people behind me as possible, and behind the hospice, to sort of recognise how hard their jobs are, and to reward that.
Well, I know raising £40,000 in the first instance would be a nice lump to give to the hospice, but if you can raise £40,000 in an effort to raise $250,000, that's got to be good economics.
Yeah, and nothing ventured, Clive, nothing gained, and that's the way I see it. And sometimes you do have to invest a little bit of money to get even more money back. And it's also the raising the awareness as well. I mean, if you just deposited a cheque to the Pilgrims, yes, of course, that would be great, but to times that cheque by 5 times and have a lot of more donors that can regularly contribute to their yearly amount they need to raise. I think that's the aim here, is to sort of get the awareness, get as many people around the Pilgrim's Hospice as possible, to kind of see what they do and how it affects everybody. And generally the people that I speak to, I mean, it's affected a lot of people, and unfortunately, we have to see these things with cancer on the rise and other diseases and really horrible things, but we can turn that from a negative into a positive and bring everybody together and hopefully raise the amount that we're trying to raise.
Well, this, of course, you've raised the point about it's one thing to say, oh yes, I've raised X for in this case Pilgrim's Hospice. All right, so you've heard of it, but nobody else has. If you can actually get thousands of other people to have heard of it, that's it's worth as much money as the money you raise.
Yes, I mean, before this happened with my mum, every time I saw the word hospice, I'd be a bit scared of the word. I didn't really understand the word itself, and to me it meant death, it meant terminal, it meant the end. And now I do see it as a completely different word. I mean, it's more comfort and support. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever been yourself, but at Christmas they always do a carol singing where you can kind of sing and everyone comes together. There's probably about 400 or 500 people that go there, and it's just an amazing experience, and it makes it's very humbling as well. As what you do when you go in there, they're very welcoming and lovely people. And I feel like I'm in a position. I'm 28 years old. I've had experience in the Marines, and I feel like I'm in a position that maybe I can help. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, it's nice to feel that people of your age can do such a thing, because obviously, I've reached my age. I dare say, at a pinch, I could climb Mount Everest, but I wouldn't have to be puffed. I wouldn't have to be puffed out by the time I got to the top. But have you actually any mountaineering experience? I know as a former commando, you've probably climbed up and down a bit and done a bit of abseiling or whatever one does in the commandos.
Yes, I mean we do a little bit of winter mountaineering training in Scotland. And I have recently been up there to climb Ben Nevis, and actually it's been in the news recently on how dangerous that can be with lots of fatalities. And there was 4 fatalities the day before I climbed it with a friend of mine. But yes, it's very little experience. So that's part of what I'm doing now is to try and train and get the experience that I need, which I keep updated on my Twitter. I'm going to be climbing Mont Blanc in June. And then it will keep rolling from then, and hopefully we get the funding for Mount Everest, and I'm aiming to do that in 2015.
I think the biggest problem with you saying some of these mountains are dangerous, I think it's because people who don't know how to climb and make an attempt wearing flip-flops and an old vest suddenly wonder why they die of exposure or fall off the mountain.
Yeah, I mean,
or don't take into consideration the fact that the weather's going to change and that they'll be lost somewhere up middle of nowhere.
That's it. I mean, you have to know what you're doing, and I've got a bit of a steep learning curve. I'm going for a week to sort of be trained up on some of the techniques and in winter mountaineering, and that's the exciting part as well. It's going to be a long journey, but as I've sort of told some of the companies, it's a long-term target, but it's got short-term benefits. So any of the money that is raised will go straight to the Pilgrim's Hospice. Well,
here again, if you've raised £40,000 for the actual thing, for the actual expedition, and let's say you raise $250,000, assumedly that $250,000 goes to them because you've already raised the £40,000 that cost you to do the thing in the first place. So that money goes to them.
Yes, of course.
It's nice to know. I was actually saying the same thing last week to somebody that in many cases you don't know how much of the money you donate goes to the charity. A penny to the charity and 99 pence to somebody who works it. Or the other way round, 99 pence to the charity and a penny to the person that's operating it. And in your case, of course, pretty well all of it will go to the hospice.
Yes, exactly. I mean, on just giving any of the money, which is what I said that if someone wanted to donate now for something that I'm about to do, that will go direct to the hospice now. So it will have a benefit on them rather than it's going to get lost in translation. You don't know where it's been spent. This is money is going to go straight into their account where that they're going to be looking after people and the nurses. And or buildings or whatever they need. But I mean, I would suggest if somebody is interested, maybe to give me a call or email me and go and see the hospice for yourself and see what sort of challenges that they face every single day. I mean, one of the reasons why I've kind of done this when my mum was ill, she was terminally ill. I decided to run a 48-mile marathon. That's how old my mum was. And in 3
Only
weeks,
48?
Yeah, she was quite young at 48. And in 3 weeks, I managed to raise £10,000. So in my eyes, if I can raise that sort of money in 3 weeks, what could I do in 3 years? So that's the sort of mind frame that I'm in. And as for someone my age and younger, when you lose somebody, you tend to you have a lot of built-up anger. You're not sure how to deal with it. And I could have gone either way. I could have gone to the angry point, or I could have tried to utilise the anger and try and do something positive, which I've tried to do. So I just want to sort of not just raise the money and raise awareness, but also give support for anybody else that went through a similar thing.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I went
I think
through.
actually you've just hit on a very important point, which I'd not really thought of because I hadn't really experienced it the way you did. Because when my mother died, she'd lived a long life. She was 85 when she died, but